Follow the comment which will lead you a stitch that a friend made on one of my videos, and I want you to really hear what she has to say. And on that note, I want to highlight some things because this has kind of been also kind of going through my mind lately, and I think a lot about them, and I haven't heard them mentioned much recently, and it's been like maybe 2 weeks that I've been thinking about them, and lo and behold, on my FYP, I think yesterday, someone mentioned them, and so I'm going to bring up their story as well. Specifically the Rohingya Muslims. The Rohingya Muslims are a minority group originating between Myanmar and Bangladesh, primarily Myanmar, and in I believe it was 1982, they lost their right to their identity as nationals of Myanmar. And again, this was discrimination, straight up. Whether it was a form of racial discrimination or ethnic discrimination or religious discrimination, it was discrimination. And nobody speaks much about the Rohingya Muslims. They now reside in horrible conditions in refugee camps in Bangladesh, and they are stateless people, much like the Palestinian people. And this is a very particular thing that not many people have, which is being stateless. And I want to make it clear that the Rohingya Muslims were always there, but in the 1940s, the late 1940s, coincidental dates, the Myanmar government decided that they were invaders and that they were not welcome anymore on their land, essentially. And since then, there has been a continuous slaughter and displacement of the Rohingya Muslims. And now they are quite literally in concentration camps in Bangladesh that we have labeled refugee camps. And we just don't talk about them. And I want to be abundantly clear that the reason why you didn't hear about the Rohingya Muslims is because there was no larger community talking about their cause. What happened to them wasn't so much a foreign entity coming in. It was a lot like essentially what Modi is trying to do in India. So again, to connect all of this to colonialism and to is not, it is quite literally the same thing that Modi is trying to accomplish right now to the minority groups in India. And so what is going to happen to Philistines who survive the mass atrocities that we are enabling right now is that they will be forever stateless. And whether or not they get their right of return, they are the only ones currently, I believe, with a recognized right to return as refugees that is passed down to their descendants. I do not believe any other group has that. And I wanted to bring them up because I wanted to remind people how common these atrocities are and how they are occurring in Palestine, but in many other areas. And as we continue to decolonize our minds, which some of you it's taking too damn long, but that's a whole other discussion, we need to remain acutely aware that what we allow to happen to one, we open the door for it to happen to us. Not that that should be a reason to care, but at this point, I think it's the only way to reach able-bodied, cis, unmelanated people, is to bring it up in that shape. So if for no other reason, I would rather you do it out of fear than not do anything at all. And so what my friend Nola was saying is that as someone who is empathetic, who feels empathy, okay, who has the ability to empathize with other human beings, she has trusted people who have done wrong. And she has given way too many opportunities to people who have done wrong. And there are quite a few of us that feel that way. But I'm going to say that we are the ones of us who do feel empathy, we are the ones who can make a difference, because if we are capable of empathy, we're also capable of real, honest, genuine, authentic, well-reasoned anger. And as much as fear is paralyzing, anger pushes us to create change. Dare I say, rage causes us to create change, push for change. We don't sit idle once we hit that point. And so this is an invitation to anybody who sees this video to just feel the rage. Feel the rage. Feel the anger. Name it. Call it out. You don't have to go as far as dehumanizing those people. But you can state that they are disgusting. That is not wrong. And you can go as far as justifying the response to violence with more violence. And quite frankly, I think a string orchestra at this point is necessary. Because if you still don't see the pattern between residential schools and reserves here on Turtle Island, where we stolen people are on stolen land, and its connection to the Rohingya Muslims, to Palestine, to Sudan, to Congo, to Ethiopia, to Kenya, to Ivory Coast, to Eritrea, to Syria. If you cannot see the connections at this point, then I consider you to be lazy and willful. And for those of you who would only retaliate when it becomes self-serving, like the people of Isnot, I suggest that first you move to make change, and then you start deconstructing and fixing yourself, because there will come a point in modern day society where the question will no longer be, can you serve capitalism in the context of eugenics? But the question will be is, can humanity and can earthlings trust you? Because not only is this a global affair affecting humans, as I sit here in a province on fire, encapsulated in my home, surrounded by smoke because of wind blowing it from a nearby earth on fire, I can tell you it's affecting many, many species on this planet. And we are not entitled to our comforts on the backs of unconsenting or coerced people, because coerced people cannot consent. And that includes immigrants. That includes occupied people. Do you see where I'm getting at? Because it doesn't matter that it's your ancestors that colonized a spot. You are upholding their legacy of destruction and parasitic behavior. And at some point, your safety will become questionable. Because society is changing. Those billionaires aren't building bunkers to protect them from an environmental or global catastrophe. Things are changing. So at this point, you can evolve to have empathy, like those of us who were forced into no other choice but having it. Or you can fall with the billionaires that you so desperately hope to be someday. Sit in that discomfort.